Not that long ago, Dak Prescott was the front runner for MVP. Not anymore. But I'm here to tell you, Cowboys versus Lions is going to get him right back in that conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into this show. Here we go. What is up, everyone, and welcome into A to Z Sports Dallas Prime Time. I am your host, Mauricio Rodriguez, streaming with you live every Sunday through Thursday night at 8 p.m. Central here on Dallas On Demand Sports Talk Network. With a lot more content coming your way, make sure that you check out atozsports.com/Dallas. And as always, do me a favor. And if you like the show, hit the like button for me. It helps us get this show in front of more and more Cowboys fans. Welcome, everyone, on a Thursday night. It is a great night to talk some Cowboys football. You know, we've got a game going on in the NFL that I don't think a lot of people care for, honestly. You know, it's Cleveland, it's the Jets. Not exactly the most attractive primetime game that you can ask for. But Cowboys fans are getting ready for their own primetime showdown, which will happen on Saturday night. A little bit of an odd allotment there for TV. But you've got the Cowboys and the Lions, two of the four best teams in the NFC, going at it in a game where I believe both teams have a lot to prove, maybe more so the Lions than Dallas, though. Because if this game was in Detroit, maybe you could frame it as a big opportunity for the Cowboys to prove something. But it's mostly, a scenario where they're supposed to be comfortable. You know, they're actually 6-point favorites entering this game, which is insane to me. I would have thought it was going to be a much more closer spread. That being said, though, the Lions just won the NFC North title last weekend, and they're trying to get into that big boy club for the NFC because they've been, left aside. They've been left behind in all of these conversations. When people talk about the top three teams in the conference, it's the Niners, it's the Cowboys, and it's the Eagles. And for everyone, the Niners are up top, and they should be. They're a pretty good football team, so got to give them that credit. Eagles and Cowboys is a little bit of a messier discussion, though. On the one hand, the Eagles were just in the Super Bowl. On the other hand, they lost in week 14 by 20, and then they lost to the Seahawks. So it's been a little bit of a mess there for Philly. But those are the top three teams, the consensus top three teams. And the Lions are going to come into this game looking to prove something that they should actually belong in that big boy club and maybe knock out the Cowboys in the process if they can get things going their way. But again, Cowboys back to where they're comfortable, undefeated at home. And tonight, we'll focus a little bit more on the offensive side of things. We talked a lot about the defense last night and all of the concerns that go on with that. But tonight, I'll talk about why I believe Dak Prescott can put himself right back into that MVP conversation in week 17. All that being said, though, let me say hi in the YouTube chat and the Twitter chat. We've got Tommy on drums here saying I'm on the road, but have a great show. Respect, TC. I'll see you on the replay. Gregory says, hello, everyone. Shout out to Joey Bella as well. We've got Katharina here in the chat. We've got Joe. We've got Gregory. We've got John Jones. So welcome, everyone, into the show. So let's talk about it, man. Let me know in the chat. Let me know in the chat from 1 to 10, how confident are you entering this ball game? How confident are you that the Cowboys are going to host the Lions and are going to beat them in the process? Let me know what you guys think about that. Should it be a relatively easy game for the offense? I hate to say it, but it really should be. There's a key difference on this one as opposed to the last two games that the Cowboys have played, which they've lost. And it's a very evident one. It's a very evident difference. Let me tell you what I mean. Cowboys passing offense struggled significantly against the Buffalo Bills. Against the Miami Dolphins, it was a little bit different, right? We saw Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb cook early on in the first quarter. We saw the Cowboys move the chains on fourth down with a quick play to Jake Ferguson where they caught the Dolphins defense off guard. So there was a lot of success in a lot of ways. But there was also a lot of hesitation from Dak. Big Fangio, big guy, in terms of disguising his coverages, safety rotation. We talked about all that. And then on top of that, you've got Bradley Chubb going at you unblocked, all that sort of stuff. But it was mostly the coverage that maybe made Dak Prescott struggle in third and long situations. And we can talk about how they got to third and long, and we can carve up more issues and more issues. But ultimately, this offense has been one of the best in the NFL in that money down. And versus the Dolphins, it wasn't, because all of those coverage disguising stuff that was going on in the back end. Lions, though, and actually before that, Bills and Dolphins, top six teams, two of the top six teams in the NFL in coverage, according to Pro Football Focus. I know grades are subjective and you can make out of that, whatever you want, but top six, just, I think it does provide a solid framework. Top six teams in coverage. Lions are the sixth worst coverage unit in the entire NFL. So you're going from facing two of the best coverage units in the league to facing one of the absolute worst. And if you saw what happened last weekend, Nick Mullins, sure, he threw 4 interceptions in that game, still was 30-24 because Nick Mullins went for over 400 yards passing. And that's, without TJ Hawkinson and Jordan Addison for at least a portion of the game, because those two weapons for the Vikings went down injured in that game last weekend. And you saw Nick Mullins, 2-minute drive, marching downfield to try to mount a comeback game-winning drive against the Lions. He failed because he did throw an interception, threw some wild picks on that one, pushing the ball downfield. But this secondary is weak, and the Cowboys should be able to go on Saturday night and attack it. We can talk all we want about Brian Branch, and we will. We can talk about some of these standout guys that the Lions have on their backfield, but just as a unit, they're not working together. They're lost in coverage. They will give you opportunities to take the deep shots and move the chains. They don't do as much as crazy stuff in the secondary as Big Fangio does. You're not going to see the safeties rotate very aggressively. They do some of it, and they play quarters at a very above average rate in the NFL, but it's mostly other sorts of coverage, according to Pro Football Focus as well, where they're not trying to limit your explosive plays, schematically speaking, at least. They might go ahead and do it after watching the Bills and the Dolphins do it and having it work. They might try to steal some of the quote-unquote blueprint that those teams showed the league. It's not really a blueprint, but we could see some tweaks there in the Lions defense. But for the most part, they're just not solid in terms of coverage. And I think that the Cowboys are going to have a good day. Total is set at 53 going into this game. Let me provide some context. The over-under being at 53 is the highest of the entire NFL season. Not for the Cowboys, but for the entire 32 teams. This game has the highest total in the league. And it's for good reason, too. We'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's see some of your answers, though. From 1 to 10, how confident are you in the Dallas Cowboys beating the Detroit Lions? And we've got Katharina at 7.5. We've got Gregory at a very, very impressive 11 there. Joey Bella goes with the 88. Shout out to CeeDee Lamb. Joe goes with the 8. We aren't getting beat at home, says Gregory. They're undefeated. They're undefeated. So not a crazy statement to make. Katharina goes with the 10. Robbie says, is Hankins still going to be out too? Yes, he's going to be out. That's official now. He's been ruled out in the final injury report, by the way. Robbie with the 7. But injury report, guys, quick parenthesis here because I do believe it is important. Cowboys are going to have Jonathan Hankins out. And then they're going to have Rico Dowdle out for this game. And that is significant because that probably means Deuce Vaughn is being active on Saturday night, for better or worse. Because you could call up Malik Davis, but the thing is, he's out of practice squad elevations. He was elevated in the last couple of weeks and then back in the Chargers game. So that's three. In order for you to play Malik Davis, you would have to sign him to the 53-man roster. Now, I was going over the 53-man roster. I don't know who you cut if you want to add Malik Davis to the roster. I just don't know who you go ahead and cut. Cannot cut any of the running backs. I don't think you can cut I don't know, like Jalen Brooks, who isn't playing a whole lot, but you cannot cut him because you like what you have on him. You're not going to risk him to waivers where he's likely getting claimed. I don't think you can cut any of the defensive tackles, any of the edge rushers, linebackers. If you cut one, man, that's basically it. You're out of linebackers. Safety is the same. Cowboys don't have anybody to cut. So it's likely Deuce Vaughn being active for this game. And that's a little bit worrying / exciting. He's not going to contribute a whole lot on special teams just because he didn't the few games that he did play. And if he's going to enter the field, going to be a concern in pass pro, which is, in my opinion, and we talked about it even before he was being a healthy scratch, he's a concern in pass pro. He just didn't cut it when he played early on in the season. And you could cut him some slack because of the size in pass pro. The thing is, and we looked at the tape here on primetime when it happened, he wasn't struggling because of the size. He was struggling because he just was lost. And that's the most concerning thing to me. If he was being mediocre in pass pro, because he's small and, he's tiny, he's not going to do a whole lot against a full-sized blitzing linebacker. But the guy was lost. He just wasn't picking up blitzes. There was a play where they ran max protect, 5 offensive linemen, Jake Ferguson staying in the backfield to block. So was Deuce Vaughn. And then the opposing team, trying to remember who it was. I'm thinking it was the Patriots. And they were mugging up their linebackers. And it was clear that, Deuce, you get the inside guy in this situation. And he was just going outside and then trying to work his way back. And it just didn't work at all. So that's the concern for me with Deuce. And I don't think we'll see a lot of reps for him in this game. I think it will be more like Hunter Lipke being running back too, honestly, for this one. And then maybe some Deuce Vaughn mixed in situations where you feel confident, maybe sending him out on a route. The problem with the Lions knowing that Deuce Vaughn is not good at pass pro is that the moment that he takes the field, expect some pressure because the Lions are going to know. The Lions are going to know either he's not going to stay in and block and we're just going to overload them, or he's just not going to block me. He's going to try and he's not going to do it, right? Something to watch, though. As soon as Deuce Vaughn enters that field, watch out because it's going to be something to see for sure. Could you get him involved in other small running back packages where he's maybe running jet sweeps or stuff like that? Maybe you could, but I don't know. It's somewhat of a concern for sure that Rico Dowdle is injured. That being said, though, we just talked about how bad the Lions are against the pass. Let me tell you something, man. If the Cowboys go out there and they try to establish the run, I want to hate it. I'm going to hate this game so much because the Lions could stop the run. They could be, they've got some flying linebackers in the second level that are going to be making some plays whenever you run the football. They've got some dudes. Maybe not so much on the interior defensive line, although, they're not bad. But the linebackers are what would concern me against the run. I would like to see the Cowboys just go out there and be like, we're going to attack you in the passing game. And again, they do have some players to watch out for. One of them is Ifeatu Melifonwu. I hope I didn't pronounce that terribly. I know I didn't get it right, but I hope I at least passed the test. Melifonwu, man, fun safety to watch, young guy. He's about in his third start. This is going to be, I think, his third start. And he's been making some plays. 2 games he started, got 14 tackles, 3 sacks, 1 interception. One of the sacks was a strip sack on Nick Mullins, too. So he was making some plays for the Lions. and he's somebody to watch out for. That being said, though, not like these, not like it's Chauncey Gardner Johnson playing, who, by the way, has officially been ruled out for this game, which is huge for Dallas because Chauncey Gardner Johnson, one of the best at his position in the entire league, and he was working towards returning on this game. I talked to a colleague of mine over at ADC Sports who covers the Lions, and it sounded like they expected uh, Gardner Johnson to play, and now he's been ruled out. So big loss for the Lions there. And again, they've been playing without him for a while, but he was training to return for this one. I think he's been recently activated for like to return. But anyways, Melifonwu has been good. Brian Branch, the rookie out of Alabama, who was dubbed as a safety, but was really more of a nickel guy in Nick Saban's scheme over in Alabama, like the apex defender / nickel. He's somebody that is playing nickel for the Lions. And he's been the best cornerback, in my opinion, that they have. Outside guys, you can get them. I wonder if we're going to see more of CeeDee Lamb on the boundary in this game because it might be the best matchup. But even Brian Branch should be at a disadvantage against number 88. I expect a lot of motion, all of that. I think CeeDee has a good game against the Lions, especially with some looks on the outside. Remember, we talked a lot about CeeDee being this slot receiver more than anything else and him being at his most dangerous. But we've seen the Cowboys shift from that mindset and be like, we're going to get him on the isolated spot. We're going to make him the X. We're going to put him out wide. We're going to put him in the slot. We're going to move him around. Heck, we've seen CeeDee in the backfield, which I don't know about you. This is just anecdotally. I don't have the actual numbers on this. But it feels to me that whenever CeeDee is in the backfield, the Cowboys have like a 200% success rate. I'm making that up, obviously. But I like CeeDee in the backfield. Give me more of that. Inject it in my veins, and let's have some fun with it. Cowboys have handed it off to CeeDee out of the backfield and being successful with it. He picked up 9 yards against the Dolphins in one of those plays. And then there was the 4th and 2 play where he's in the backfield alongside with Tony Pollard, and then they run like this play action and then just toss it to Jake Ferguson for the first down. I want to see more of CeeDee in the backfield. I think it presents a very difficult dilemma for opposing defenses where you're like, I'm going to get a cornerback in the box, but then you hand it off to Pollard and your cornerback is forced to get dirty in the box and play. But if you put a linebacker on CeeDee, good luck, right? It's what the 49ers have been doing with Deebo Samuel for a long time now. And if the Cowboys start doing it more with CeeDee, I would love to see that. I would really love to see that. Anyways, cornerbacks can be beaten, in my opinion. You get to the red zone. And the Lions are going to give you opportunities too. The Lions are a bottom 5 red zone defense in the league, and they are the 8th defense to allow the most trips to the red zone. So you're gonna get some chances there. It looked for a moment as if James Houston was gonna return for this game. That's the Lions' maybe second best edge rusher, maybe third best edge rusher. I'm not sure, but he did have 8 sacks last year, first year with the Lions, and he's been activated to practice, but he's not going to go on this game. So he's also been ruled out. So your biggest concern in this game when the offense is on the field and when the offense has the ball, your biggest concern is going to go at right tackle. Because Terrence Steele against Aiden Hutchinson is a mismatch. And a worrying one at that. Hutchinson is going to put Steele on blast, in my opinion, in this game. And if you don't have Tyron Smith, and we'll talk about the update on Tyron a little bit here, but if for any reason you don't have Tyron Smith on Saturday, and with Tyron's never a guarantee he's going to play, and you got to send help both ways, that's going to be an issue. I don't think any of the other they've got some dudes. They've got man, I forget how it's pronounced and how it's spelled. Okworu, I think. One sec. Let's see. Let's open the Lions lineup here on PFF. Okwara. I think it's pronounced Okwara. Okwara has actually been solid, but he's played what? I don't think he's played a whole lot yet. 206 snaps on the defensive line. Romeo Okwara. He's been decent, but not a scary dude like Hutchinson is. And again, if Tyron does play, you can leave him on an island like you've been doing for the most part with 77 and just send all of the help that you can over on Trent Steele's side of things and have Jake Ferguson chipping Hutchinson, have Tony Pollard chipping Hutchinson, Dak Prescott sprinting away from Hutchinson, whatever you need to do. But Steele is going to need some help. Hutchinson is smart. He's powerful. He's fast. And he's got like this loaded toolbox of moves that he can beat offensive tackles with. He looks like a seasoned veteran when he's out there for some reason, even though he's only in his second year in the NFL. Fun player to watch, not maybe a fun matchup to watch if you are a Cowboys fan. But that's my biggest concern with this defense. And maybe a little bit the linebackers. If the Cowboys go out there and they are stubborn and they want to run the football, I would hate to see that. I want the Cowboys to stay on them and really just start throwing the football right away and just remain aggressive throughout the entire game. I wonder why we haven't seen Martavis Bryant since Tommy and I won 5. Man, I think it's evident a little bit why. I don't think that you have a role for him on offense, if I'm being honest. I know Gallup has disappointed some people and even me. And I know Jalen Tolbert isn't necessarily taking the second-year jump that many of us were expecting. But Martavis Bryant in this offense, I don't know what his role is. And meanwhile, you've got guys like Turpin having a role, right? And not only on special teams, but even on offense with some of the plays that they use. I don't think he's better than. I don't think there's anything you can point to say I would rather have Martavis Bryant over Michael Gallup, mostly because we don't have a single clue who Martavis Bryant is today. Troy says Mike McCarthy needs to find a running game. And you know what? I agree. You could use that running game, especially in the playoffs, because otherwise it's going to be so volatile, whatever happens in the postseason. This is not the game where I want to find out how you can fix the running game. This is the game that I want the Cowboys to go out there and just win the damn ball game. And if we're being completely real with ourselves, Cowboys are not going to fix the running game in week 17. Neither they're going to do it in week 18. The run game is what it is at this point. And it's not good. I agree. But right now, you're in a win now mode every step of the way. And the best way to win is by throwing the football and just being like, go cook, Dak Prescott, go cook. That's how I see it, at least. Cowboys are not going to fix this running game. It's going to be inconsistent as it's been. The answer is going to be go and win this game by throwing the football and do it well. What's up to the people who are joining the show right now? We've got Lost in Translation. We've got Mark also right now arriving to the stream. Welcome, welcome. Hope that you guys are enjoying your Thursday night. Anyways, guys, I think that's most of like what we had to talk about with the injury report. I think those are the notable players on it. Obviously, Malik Hooker should be ready to go. He's been practicing. He was a full participant yesterday and today. You're gonna see Martin go, apparently, who's been actually. I don't remember if he has a game status. I think he doesn't even have a game status. Same for Chuma Edoga, who gave us a little bit of a scare there for a second. Because Chuma, I don't know if you noticed, but Chuma popped up on the injury report out of nowhere on Wednesday with a toe injury. And then it was like, wait, what? Cowboys might be without Tyron and they might be without Chuma too. So it was concerning. But today, McCarthy provided a very promising update where he said um, things are looking good for them too. And Tyron Smith was upgraded to limited on Thursday, which is the final injury report, by the way. He's questionable. Last week, he was doubtful. So, baby steps, but it looks promising. It looks like Tyron is going to go on Saturday night. But maybe that's me being optimistic. And with Tyron, you can never really be optimistic. You just can't. So let's see what happens. If Tyron doesn't go, I'm assuming the Cowboys won't overreact and it will still be Chuma. But I'm still intrigued as to, for example, right? How is the inactive list going to look like? Because all this time, right, you've had Asim Richards be a healthy scratch. Like for the most part, the games that the Cowboys have not had O-line injuries, Asim has been inactive for many of these games. So I kind of wonder what is going to go on with like, well, let's go now being there on the 53. Is he going to be inactive too? What is exactly the plan there? I'm intrigued. I'm just intrigued about it going into this one. As for call ups, Carl Davis is likely going to be called up again without Jonathan Hankins. It's going to be his final elevation. And then maybe what? Maybe you get Princeton Fant once more in there for special teams. I think you're going to have to get Princeton Fant for this one because Fant has been called up twice, and now you won't have basically you're going to have Rico out, and you're going to have Deuce Vaughn, who really cannot play special teams. Lipke is going to get looks at running back, I guess. So I would expect Carl Davis and Princeton Fan to be called up. But anyways, that's maybe too deep for us to really spend a lot of time with on this show, in my opinion. I would rather see Richards or Waletsko than Idoga, says Tommy915. And Chuma is an embarrassment, says Cam. I totally get why Cowboys fans feel like this right now. I also have to say, I'm not if the Cowboys don't like what Richards is today, remember, and I've said this multiple times here on the show, that whole idea about it cannot be any worse, guys, it's been proven time and time again that whenever we think that, it can actually be much worse. So I'm not sure. I'm not sold on the idea of going with Richards over Edoga when we know Richards can be very good, but we knew right from the get-go it might take some time, right? So it can get worse. So I'm not sure. I'm gonna trust the coaching staff on this one, and I'm gonna be like, if they think it's Chuma, then it's Chuma, guys. That's my take on this whole thing. It usually can be worse. And I'm going to give you a recent example. Anthony Brown going down injured. And people were like, whoo, finally, we can get some rotation there at cornerback. And then we suffered for the final stretch of the season, watching a very bad cornerback carousel, which was not fun to follow. Anyways, before we get out of here, let's get to the keys to the game. And in the meantime, do me a favor and drop your score. Drop your score in the chat going into week 17. What is your score prediction? The day after tomorrow, these two teams are going to face each other. I've got some overall thoughts on this whole thing. On offense, I think the biggest takeaway from everything that we've talked up to this point, my key to the game is survive Aiden Hutchinson, help out Terrence Steele in every way you can against Hutchinson because he's going to get him otherwise, and remain aggressive. Don't go out there trying to establish the run. This is a game where you want Dak to throw the football, and you want to get ahead on these Lions too, because you don't get ahead on them Lions, they're going to run at you. They're going to keep running at you, and they've got a solid rushing offense. Probably a slightly more physical offensive line than the Buffalo Bills. And we know how that went. So go up on them and force Jared Goff to throw the football. and get to Jared Goff, obviously, because when he's under pressure, the whole script changes and it's a different Jared Goff. Jared Goff, when kept clean, dangerous QB. Jared Goff under pressure, gonna crumble. He's gonna crumble. We've seen that for multiple years. Multiple years. All right. All that being said, red zone defense gonna be key to the game too. We've already talked about the red zone matchup when the Cowboys are on the field. Red zone defense for the Lions, man, fifth worst in the league. No, excuse me. Red zone defense, right, is the 12th worst for the Cowboys, which is not bad. It's actually around league average. Lions are the fifth best offense. So this is a game where both red zone offenses are at a significant advantage. More so the Cowboys defense over the Cowboys offense, over the Lions defense. Sorry if that was confusing. But Ben Johnson is very creative. He's going to have players open on the red zone. We're going to see some touchdowns here for the Lions, is my point. But if you can hold your own, man, the game could really change. Make the damn tackles. And it was a world of difference, man, between the Dolphins game and the Bills game, Just look at these numbers. This is just rushing plays. Dolphins had 2 runs go over 10 yards. Buffalo had 8 10-plus yard runs. 8 versus 2. And it was a completely different ball game, right? So, yeah, the Cowboys rushing defense, 32nd in the NFL, 32nd in success rate. But the Cowboys missed 12 tackles in that game versus the Bills. Against the Dolphins, completely different story. And the Cowboys rushing offense looked much better. And they got tackled for losses. That's why Jordan Lewis here is in the pick. Jordan Lewis was amazing against the run on Sunday. Make those plays, especially on the edges. And Lions are going to go at you on the edges. I also think we will see a very heavy inside run game from the Lions. They can do it all, and they can do a lot of counter, and they can do runs to the outside as much as they want. They've got the linemen to do it and the running backs who can generate the yards after the catch. However, they adapt. And a perfect example of that was last weekend when they played the Vikings. Minnesota loves to blitz at an insane rate. Brian Flores is just a mad scientist when it comes to defense. And the Lions, knowing that, they maybe were like, you know what? Let's take away from counter. We do a lot of counter, but if these guys are blitzing us consistently, then counter is not going to work because some of these plays are going to get blown up with the pulling guard or whatever. Some of these plays are going to get blown up, and the blocks are not going to be there for our backs. So the Lions instead were like, F it. We're just doing zone today. We're doing zone from the first quarter to the fourth quarter, and we're not going to deviate from that. And they didn't. It was pretty impressive to see that adjustment from the Lions. So it feels like this is one game where the Lions might just be like, yeah, we're not running to the outside. We're just going to bully these guys up front, and we're going to have them cry as much as we can until the game script allows it. Because once the Cowboys go up, that's when it gets interesting for them. That's when they got to change it up. We'll see what happens, man. We'll see what happens. But this is interesting. I don't have the splits home and away for the Cowboys defense. I'm going to be honest here, Bruce. You're asking for it in the YouTube chat. I don't have those. We could look for them, but I'm not entirely sure. I would check for those splits on Pro Football Reference. And Pro Football Reference can be a little bit of I need a map sometimes to get through to the pages that I want to get to. Sometimes I'm a little bit lost there. So let's see what you guys have to say. Yep, Dowdle is out, Mark. Dowdle is out. Troy had said something. He said, you mean it gets worse than allowing a defensive end free runs at your QB? That was like a limited amount of plays. Not ideal, not defending Chuma for it. But yeah, the other 98% of the plays, they can get worse. 100%. Let's see some of your score predictions here. Gregory goes with 31-24, 20-45. Lost in translation says Cowboys. 32-24 for Katharina. Let's see here. Cam goes with 29-33. Dallas. 31-28 for Bruce. Got the toxic use. 27-20 Dallas is Jimmy. 23-17 Dallas. Low scoring affair there for Tommy 915. That's interesting. Dallas says Cam 33-29 or 29-30. All right. Double score. I'm going to go with a 31-20 as well. I'm going to go with a 31-20 and not as well, actually. It's slightly different. 31-20 for me, Cowboys. And betting the Cowboys pick is going to be the spread. Give me the Cowboys -6. And let me explain why a little bit here. I think this is one of those spots where I look at the spread and it's like, all right, somebody knows something. Somebody knows something because this is a buy low spot, theoretically, for Dallas after losing 2 games. And then the Lions are coming back to life. This should be a sell high spot for the Lions. And they're still -5.5. It's actually -5.5 right now. So I'm going to go with that number. That's the number that I'm getting in my sports book. So I'm gonna cheat and change that to 5.5. Not cheat, actually, it's a spread. So -5.5. Give me the Cowboys. Think somebody knows something, and I think it's gonna be a big Cowboys win on Saturday night. And after that, we'll talk again here on ADC Sports Dallas Primetime on Sunday night, 8 p.m. Central. You're, of course, going to get the game day shows from Jesse Holly and Skywalker Steel, and we will have some fun. It's also the Jimmy Johnson game. Also going to be the Jimmy Johnson game, and it might get crazy there at AT&T Stadium. Really excited about how that whole thing plays out. I'll see you guys on Sunday night at 8 p.m. Central. Have a fantastic weekend for me and hit the like button. See you guys on Sunday. Bye-bye.